Hey guys, in this video we're going to be going over modules. So there are a lot of default modules in Python, and we can also use modules that we create ourselves. Now a module is just a file that you created, such as this module a.py file that I have. This is actually a module, and we can actually call this module within other modules. But for right now I'm just going to show you guys the functionality of the built-in modules. So one default module that we have in Python is the OS module, and this is similar to other modules in like JavaScript. So what we can do here is print OS, and let's just see what we get here. So as you can see, we get module OS from, and then this is the path to my Python. Now I'm in the wrong version here, so let me come down here and go to version 3.8. And when I run this again, now you can see that it is Python 3.8 os.py. So this module that we're importing, and we use the keyword import, is actually located in my files right here. And as you can see, it's just a normal module called os.py. Now we can actually see what's contained in this without having to go to that file. See, I could go here and hit control click, and this is actually the module that's within that file right there. And if we take a look here, as you can see, we have a lot of different stuff. A lot of classes, a lot of functions, and they all have different functionality. And there are doc strings in here to let us know what are going on. Like these multi-line strings, these are called doc strings. So as you can see, it gives us examples and whatnot, but without having to look there, we can actually use a function here called dir. And if we surround the OS with dir and run this, we get a lot of output here. Now what this is actually all the functionality of this OS module. And these attributes have way more attributes within these sub attributes here. So let's check out a sub attribute of all of this OS module. So let's take a look at os.wait, and let's print this. So as you can see here, we have a whole bunch of different dunder methods, and we see we don't really have any functions. That's because this wait is the last or leaf function of this chain. But I want to show you guys some more of the OS modules. So if we do, for instance, let's take a look back at OS. And I'm using Visual Studio Code, and many other editors do this as well. When I put a dot here, we have a whole bunch of methods here that are listed, and these are the purple boxes. But what I actually want to complete here is I want to list out all the contents in this file that I'm currently using. So to do this, what we can do is actually do os.path, and this is for getting the path of where a file is contained. And I want to get the actual directory name of where this module A is located at. So there's another function called dir name, and what we pass into here is a path. And what we can actually do to do this is use a dunder string, and we're going to pass in the dunder file. Now dunder, or double underscore file, is basically just going to give us the path to where this module is located on my computer. So when we run this, as you can see, it's in my D YouTube Python beginner /8 directory. So this is the directory that these files are currently located in. Now if I wanted to list out the files in this directory, there's also another method in the OS module to do this. And this is os.listdir. So now when I list the directory of this path that we've got, and I run this, as you can see, we get .vs code, module A, and thumbnail.jpg. So this is how we can use different modules. Now this print dir and then OS, looking at the methods of this class or module, is actually very useful for APIs. So I'm going to switch over here to a different environment that I have here for Discord, in which I have the Discord module installed. And if I import here Discord, and I list what Discord has, as you can see, we have a thing here called user. So let me take a look at what user can do. When I run this, okay, now we have some other things like their profile, their premium type. So I guess that's if they have Nitro or not. We also have this user object here. So let's take a look at what user does. So what this user can now have is a default avatar, their avatar. We can get their avatar URL. We can get their name, their ID. So this is very useful for seeing what type of attributes you can use within an API. Now you don't always have to import other people's modules. You can also import your own. So what I'm going to do here is make a new file here. I'm going to call this moduleb.py. And what I'm going to do here is set a variable here called x, and I'm going to set it equal to 10. So I'm going to come back over here to module A, and it is important that module B is within the same directory as module A. So now if I type import module B and run this, we get no output, right? However, what happens is when we import this and run this file, everything within module B is run. So if I were to put here print hello and I run module A, as you can see, we get an output of hello. That's because we have now set a variable called x and we've printed out hello. Now to access this x from within this module A file, I can say print, and we want to print module B, and to get this x, we can type .x, and if we run this, we get 10. Now let's take a look at what attributes we have inside this module B again. So let's type dir and module B, and as you can see right here, we have this variable called x at the very end. So that's how we were able to print module B.x. I'm going to make a function here in module B called square num. And this is just going to take in a number, n, and what it's going to do is it's going to return n squared. And to square something, you just do 2 multiplication signs. So let me remove this print statement here, and we still have our x, and let me go back here and do the dir on module B and run this, and as you can see, we now have another attribute, or as we know it as a function, called square num. So to access this again, we use our dot notation. So we'll say module B dot, and as you can see right here, we have a function here, square num. And what does it expect again? It expects a number. So let's pass in the number 10. So when we run this, now we get, and I'm sorry, this is actually not squared, this is actually timesing itself. So if we wanted to square it, we would do to the second power. And now if we run this, we get 100. Now, we can actually change the name of this module B, so it doesn't have to be so long. So I can say import module B as, and using this as character, I can now rename it to whatever I want. So I can say this as MB. Now if I tried running this, as you can see, no name module B is found. So I actually have to use MB now, and now when I run this, we get our 100 again. Now we can actually just import this function without importing the whole file itself. From module B, and this from keyword will reference this file, and we're going to say from this file we want to import that function, and that function is called square num. Now we don't have to use this dot notation, instead we can just use square num, since this is the actual variable name, and this variable is actually a function, and when we run this again we get 100. And just like before, we can actually rename this, so I can say SN, and when I run this we get a name not found error, but we have to change this to SN. And now when we run this, we get 100 again. So this is how you can also use your own modules and import them as well. That is the basics for modules in Python, and that concludes the beginner series of Python.